I think a statement that Paul O'Sullivan said that he took an oath to tell the truth, but did not take an oath to answer every single question, which is the big contention that is being addressed right now in Parliament. And it is a very interesting one because this is mainly about, political influence and criminality and corruption in the South African police service, the judiciary, and this is something that he has been not willing to go forward to the ad hoc committee, but present day today, he is there. And everything is underway. It is 11 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa.
Keep Africa in your hands. Connect to our website for all your news, sports, and cultural updates. channelafrica.co.za. 6 decades of rhythm, resonance, and relevance. We are Channel Africa, the African perspective. Across Africa, communities rise with the promise of clean water and clean sanitation. The African Union's 2026 theme calls us to action.
It's about mobilizing real commitments, securing climate-resilient water and sanitation projects, and ensuring that water becomes a driver of sustainable development and prosperity across the continent.
A landmark moment, not only for Africa, but for the global movement for access to safe water for all.
Assuring sustainable water availability for every home, every village, every nation. This is the Africa we want.
Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 12 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Sudan has announced it is returning to the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, that's IGAD. The return ends a 2-year freeze imposed after the regional bloc invited paramilitary commander to peace talks. Now, to unpack this for us, we are joined on the line by Dennis Munene, Executive Director of China Africa Center at the Africa Policy Institute. Dennis, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Hello?
Hi, Dennis. Are you there?
I'm good. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great stuff. Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Thank you.
Now, Dennis, thank you for joining us. Now, what does Sudan's decision to return to IGAD tell us about the current state of the conflict and what has changed?
One of the things that it's a good news for basically the Horn of Africa, for IGAD to return back to for Sudan to return back to IGAD. This is because we've seen a lot of humanitarian crisis within the country, and so with its return, it gives us hope that there's that aspect for the leaders, both from the Sudan Armed Forces and also for the Rapid Support Forces, to be able to come together and have dialogue and to ensure that they put the people first and not their own personal interests, but to ensure that we bring peace and sanity in that country that have been ravaged with war and so much humanitarian crisis. And this is something that some of us who really watch careful and be able to monitor what's happening within the Horn of Africa, we applaud the government of Sudan for taking this bold step to return back to this regional bloc that basically provides mechanism for conflict resolutions, ensure that there's that platform for disaster management, and basically bring the regional integration back. And that's something that we do applaud and applause the government of Sudan for taking that bold initiative.
Now, the question is this symbolic, or does Sudan's return signal greater willingness to engage in inclusive negotiations?
I think it's more of it showing that it has that aspect of wanting to negotiate. Because one of the things that you look at in terms of conflict, there's a part of stalemate where it reaches where there's no loser or winner in this case. And basically, it's now the aspect of looking at the interest of the people. And right now, we've seen there's a lot of humanitarian crises. Young children are starving, and many people have lost their lives. And so, this is now the aspect where they are coming back to the negotiating table to be able to ensure that they give dialogue an opportunity to be able to solve the issues that are happening in Sudan.
And how important is IGAD as a a mediator, I beg your pardon, compared to other actors like the AU, that's the African Union, Egypt, or even Saudi Arabia? And what leverage does it have realistically over Sudan's warring parties?
For the importance of IGAD, the 8-member regional bloc, whereby you find countries like Djibouti, which are in place, you find Ethiopia, you have Kenya, there's Somalia, there's South Sudan, there's Uganda. For Eritrea, still their case is still on suspension. And so this is a very key platform for Sudan to be able to use, especially to state its case. And basically for it, it's within actors who understand the conflict properly, and first, even before we go to the AU, we have to also to give platform some of these regional blocks to be able to solve some of these issues that are cutting within the boundaries. And this is very crucial because out of that, you get to ensure that you have key people and the main actors. And because we find that within also, not just Sudan, also South Sudan have been able to be affected by this conflict because of the spillover of some of the refugees and displaced people. And so when these people are able to talk together, they all feel the pain. They have all been affected by the conflict in Sudan. And so they can be able to offer credible and alternative solutions to what's happening. When you look at these other parties that are there, they're also equally important. But yet again, IGAD happens to be able to be, it was founded and has the right mechanism and the right tools to be able to ensure that we have a peaceful resolution for what's happening in Sudan, to be able to ensure that they can be able to spearhead long-term stability within the country, and basically be able to ensure that there's that aspect of shared security and also deal with some of the development challenges, because this war has been able to basically damage a lot of infrastructure development in Sudan and also part of South Sudan. And so with IGAD taking the mandate and be able to lead this resolution is very key and will be more effective than having other bodies deal with it.
Let's look at the next 6 months. What would success be like for IGAD?
I think one is just bring the two warring groups together. That's the fundamental thing that needs to be done. The second thing is for IGAD to be able to push for humanitarian support in South Sudan, because that's one of the things that is really hurting the region. You'll find that children are dying out of starvation. You'll find children are going to school. There's issues of challenges of health crisis in Sudan. And so these are the things that IGAD has really pushed, ensure that it brings not only just the regional bodies and also other countries, but also bring international community to be able to offer support and be able to deal with the issues of humanitarian crisis, be able to ensure that there's food, there's proper healthcare system, be able to restore some of the critical infrastructures that are supposed to enable the proper running of the government, and also basically at the end of the day to ensure that there is peace that is needed, because where there's no peace, there's no development. And so that's one of the things that we're going to see in the next 6 months, the leadership of IGAD and also the countries within the IGAD, that they're going to have a lot of work to be able to ensure that you bring both the leaders of Sudan Armed Forces and also the Rapid Support Forces, but more so to ensure that their fundamental aim is to ensure that humanitarian crisis has been sorted out in Sudan. That's one, because if we don't do that, again, also remember, we're also having another problem in South Sudan. And also, again, there's the issues of Somalia. So we need to ensure that we get to solve these humanitarian crises in Sudan as soon as possible.
And speaking of the humanitarian crisis in Sudan, what should the Sudanese people expect with the result of this return?
Well, one of the things that one is that their voices will have a platform to be able to be heard. And this is the beauty of having these regional blocks and being part of it, is that you have a platform where you can be able to share your issues and that can be able to be amplified to other regions. And so the people of Sudan are going to see the aspect of the negotiations, especially for the issue of humanitarian aspect, where there'll be distribution of food. There's the issue of putting proper mechanism for the healthcare systems that have been destroyed in Sudan, to be able to ensure that every area, whether in Darfur or across the region, that you can be able to have that proper care that is needed, and ensure that we reduce the loss of life that we've seen. Millions of people have lost their lives for quite for the last 2 or so years when this war began. And so this is something that we need to be able to ensure, and be able to ensure that there's peace and security in that region.
Dennis, thank you for your time. That's where we'll leave it for today.
Thank you very much.
That was Dennis Munene, Executive Director of China Africa Center at the Africa Policy Institute, joining us on the line.
Be inspired. Stay informed. Channel Africa, the beauty of life. Now available anytime, anywhere with our new app.
Je, una jambo lolote akilini mwako? Je, una shauku kuhusu masuala muhimu? Na je, una maoni ambayo unataka yasikike? Kweli, hili jukwaa ni la kwako. Piga simu au tuandikie kwenda WhatsApp namba alama ya kujumulisha 2760552594 na tutakupigia simu.
Mtangazaji wa habari zetu za Afrika Kusini mjini Johannesburg.
Hivyo unaweza kuwa mshirika kwenye matangazo yetu. Sio mazungumzo tu, ni fursa yako ya kuchangia maoni yako na kushirikiana na jumuiya ya wasikilizaji wanaotamani mtazamo wako. Tufuate kwenye mitandao ya kijamii. Tembelea tovuti yetu www.channelafrica.co.za na uwe tayari kushiriki na kuchangia maoni yako kwenye Channel Africa. Channel Africa, mtazamo wa Kiafrika.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 22 after 12 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. The Zimbabwean government has denied involvement in the killing of a political activist in South Africa, suggesting that the death of Kudzai Sarwaka was the latest statistics of South Africa's high murder rate. Sarwaka was shot and killed in the Mabopane area of Pretoria in South Africa over the weekend. Hundreds of democracy activists in the diaspora are reportedly on a hit list, including Hopewell Chinono, Job Sikala, Tinashe Jonasi, as well as our next guest, who now joins us on the line. It's General Sithole, one of the Zimbabwean political activists in the diaspora. General, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you so much, Lulu. How are you?
Very well, thanks. We are all good. And, General, we when we see such stories and what is happening on the ground, what is your immediate reaction when you heard about the killing of Kudzai Sarwaka? And how well known was Sarwaka within the Zimbabwean democracy movement in the diaspora?
Thank you so much. Let me first answer about him being known. He's a person who is known by most of the Zimbabweans as the Democrats activist in the diaspora, as well as the future of the country, because every generation has got to do what we call generational transition. So Kudzai Sarwaka was one of the bright young politicians who were coming up with promising energy to actually transform the situation in Zimbabwe. So most of the Zimbabweans, they know Comrade Sarwaka.
Now, Sarwaka's killing has been described as a well-organized, state-sponsored murder. What evidence is there to support this claim?
Where anything which is unfortunate transpires, we actually have people express their feelings in the different ways. We cannot speak of any evidence now, Lulu, because things which can be done in the dark can actually be something which is tricky in terms of interpreting it in the light. We are not sure if ZANU-PF was involved or not, but taking into consideration the circumstances around Sarwaka, that in October they led the anti-2030 march, which was organized by the late Comrade Bombshell Geza, who also was a democracy activist and a world liberation hero who passed away here in South Africa also. And also taking into consideration that Comrade Sarwaka has got a warrant of arrest which was issued by then, that he is also being targeted to be put in jail amongst the other activists who are still in jail today. You know, the speculations will always go that people will connect the event of his killings to the political relationship of his survival on day-to-day life.
Now, General, your name has reportedly appeared on a hit list. When did you first become aware of this? And how seriously are you taking the threats? You know, have you or others in the diaspora received direct threats or warnings in recent months?
It's quite confusing, Lulu, and obviously we are in a panic mode. You know, especially knowing that the person who has done the hit list, we don't know the person. The journalist who had that privilege also to get such deep information, we actually don't know the person. So it means whoever brought this to light in terms of putting it on the public domain is also well connected to the epicenter of the political activities which are taking place. Since we know in Zimbabwe there is a charging political temperature based on the proposal of constitutional amendments which is being proposed to be done by ZANU-PF to extend President Mnangagwa's term. So we are bound to believe everything because you know, you can't predict what is going to happen tomorrow. Obviously, we are plugged to a panic mode, and we are also found in a position where we are confused because what we are doing is constructive criticism, knowing that it is also a formula to actually put us as the new generation and vibrant upcoming young politicians who is going to be the bearers of the tomorrow's future. You know, so yeah, we are in a panic mode. I don't want to lie, Lulu, that we always think that maybe tomorrow I will not be alive.
And as you say, you're all panicking, and you know, anything can happen. But what message does this killing send to Zimbabweans who generally speak out, who are outside the country? Yes, you say there's panic, there's being unsettled, but a direct message that you're picking up from this.
The direct message that we are picking up from this is that we don't need to say anything in terms of challenging the political decisions maybe which might be put forward. But as long as this message is not yet sent clear, we are not going to be silent because we believe that in as much as our elders are the office bearers today, there are certain things which we need to inherit. At the same time, the contribution of the evolving time and tactics which needs to be used in terms of governance system to actually serve our masses. So we are going to continue do constructive criticism and making sure that we are sending the message to them of what we want to see the country looking like, because we are the advocates for the well-being of the Zimbabweans, not even terrorists. We are not intending to use any violent act or whatsoever, but activism always push forward a message of what are the wishes of the masses in terms of the governance strategies which are being used by the people in power. So that is our position.
And very quickly, just in wrapping up, 15 seconds, what do you want Zimbabweans at home and those in the diaspora to understand about this moment?
What I want the Zimbabweans at home and the ones in the diaspora to understand is that let us not be scared. Let us stand and make sure that our voices will be heard by those who are responsible to take them into consideration. But I want to urge the people of Zimbabwe that when we are doing activism, let it be activism and make sure that we don't actually go to the extremes, especially in terms of taking into consideration the issues of security. But let's keep forward pushing our constructive criticism to those in power and do it responsibly and making sure that our voices are heard.
General, thank you for your time on Africa Update. We'll leave it there for today.
Thank you so much.
That's General Sithole, one of the people who are reportedly on a hit list and one of the Zimbabwean political activists in the diaspora. It is 12:30 Central African Time, and our news headlines up next.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon. Making headlines. Sudan has announced that it will return to the East African Regional Bloc, IGAD. The country suspended its membership in January 2024 after IGAD invited the head of the Rapid Support Forces. Fraud examiner in South Africa, Paul O'Sullivan, has denied allegations of being a spy. O'Sullivan is currently testifying before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into concerns around national security. And finally, the Australian government has called a meeting with the gaming platform Roblox over reports that is exposing children to predators and harmful material. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports. On Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
First up, it's football news. Tunisian giants Esperance Sportive de Tunis have dismissed head coach Maher Kanzari following their 1-0 defeat away to Stade Malien in the Total Energies CAF Champions League. The club confirmed the decision on Monday, bringing an abrupt end to Kanzari's tenure after mounting pressure over inconsistent performances and results in continental competition. In a brief statement published on the club's official social media platforms, Esperance president Hamdi Medeb announced that the contractual relationship with the Tunisian coach had been terminated, adding that a new technical team would be unveiled in the coming days. On to cricket news. Lungisani Ngidi, known as Lungi Ngidi, starred as South Africa secured a 57-run win over Canada to open their ICC T20 World Cup. With South Africa setting a 214-run target, Ngidi struck with the first ball of the second innings, finishing with 4 for 31 in 4 overs. He says the wicket behaved as predicted and credits their recent tour of India for aiding their preparations.
Yeah, we did play the way we thought it would. Obviously, we had played a series against India before, and with the new ball, it did do quite a bit. So we knew that it was going to be tough up front for the new guys. They came out and said that. And then in the middle, obviously, they had strung together a few good overs, and that's T20 cricket. You've got to absorb the pressure, transfer when you can, and that's exactly what the guys did. They came off and told us that it's still not easy to bat out there if you're hitting a good line and length. And then, obviously, the change-ups were also a bit challenging, but we've got world-class finishers, so they were able to do the job.
Ngiti noted that the pitch at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad was favourable. He added that the opposition also produced some strong moments with the bat, underscoring that the bowlers still had plenty of work to do.
Look, I think 180, it seems like a very good wicket. And there's periods in the game where, like you saw with them, they got in and you can capitalise on that. Even when we played India, like I say, it was a pretty good batting deck. So, yeah, we were thinking around 180. As the bowlers, we were willing to take that.
And finally, former South Africa's youth international Kayla Reneke has detailed the raw feelings she experienced when she got the call to be part of the Proteas women for the first time. The former under-19 captain was included in the team to play the 320 internationals against Pakistan, with the first match taking place on Tuesday in Potchefstroom, and will be hoping to make an immediate impact with the World Cup coming up this June in England. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Figile Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
Million ways them flee when them buck up in a torture. Cause them I get torture.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to The Upside.
More fire.
All things that torture. That's the name of the album.
You know, torture literally means that someone who bears a torch, like a torture, like not T-U-R, but T-O-R-C-H-E-R. So like it's a Statue of Liberty holding a torch, like keeping it burning, you know what I'm saying? Like it just implies the fact that we have to inspire one another. We have to tell it through the music and reach out to the people to know that, listen, you got light inside of you that has to bend. You know what I'm saying? Like keep it burning. Like don't let nobody dim your shine.
The Upside, live and real. It's dynamic. Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. Africa's second largest copper producer, Zambia, is looking into ways to ramp up the production of the mineral. Last year, the country saw an increase of 8% in production, driven by higher output at major Stanbic Bank, Zambia's head of corporate and investment banking, Helen Lubumba, is currently attending the African Mining Indaba in Cape Town, South Africa, and looks into financing gaps holding the mining sector back.
The fact that we're dealing with a commodity that requires long-term investment, and a commodity that's also susceptible to market prices and demand globally. So what you need in a scenario like that is, where can you find the investment opportunities?
Meanwhile, Business Director of underground mining contractor Cementation Africa, Graham Gemberian, is one of the view that the resources of mining accidents in Africa is caused by the neglect of safety measures by mining companies. In South Africa alone, 42 fatalities were recorded in 2024, while last year 48 miners were killed in the collapse of an illegally operated gold mine in western Mali. Gemberian says mining companies should regularly maintain mining equipment to ensure the safety of mine workers.
You can't install it and leave it. The regime of maintenance and inspection and over-inspection, that's perhaps also a cultural thing, but the over-inspection by management of systems is also key to safety.
Botswana's economy is projected to grow this year after 2 successive years of contraction, but debt is expected to rise beyond the government's statutory ceiling because of another large budget deficit. In a budget speech, Ndaba Gaulate said economic growth this year was forecast at 3.1%, compared to estimated contractions of 0.4% last year and 2.8% in 2024. Botswana's economy has been hit hard by a prolonged downturn in the global diamond market, driven by economic uncertainty and the rising popularity of lab-grown stones. Diamonds typically account for about 1/3 of Botswana's national revenue and 3/4 of its foreign exchange earnings. Egypt has announced plans for a new $1 billion harbour, hotel and housing development on the Red Sea. This in a bid to boost the region's tourist industry. Ahmed Shalabi, managing director of the main developer, Tatouya Misr, said the construction on the Monte Galala Towers and Marina project would start in the second half of the year and run for 7 years. The 10-tower development is a partnership with the Housing Ministry and other state bodies, including the Armed Forces Engineering Authority. Coca-Cola HBC AG forecast a 7% to 10% growth in organic operating profit in 2026, driven by strong demand for non-alcoholic drinks and expansion into markets with the growth potential. The company, which sells Coca-Cola, Sprite and Fanta in European and African markets, reported an 11.5% increase in 2025 organic operating profit. According to the company compiled poll, analysts were expecting 2026 organic operating profit growth of 9.4% on average. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 366, in Botswana it's at 13.10, Kenya 128 shilling 45, and Zambia 18 kwacha 64. The BRICS countries in Brazil, the dollar there 5 ruble 21, Russia 76 rubles 91, India 90 rupees 66, China 61.93, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 16 rand 3 cents, 73 pence to the British pound and 84 to the euro. Gold $5,029, while platinum $2,081 per ounce. Brand crude oil is at $68.94 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. Channel Africa Business. Tabisolo Hoko.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628. CBS stories and sounds. Channel Africa. The African perspective. The Morning Switch Weekend. With the Shy Guy.
I Show Speed, often called Speed, who is a popular American YouTuber and live streamer known for his high-energy personality, loud reactions, and unpredictable humor. He visited Ethiopia, and he was shocked what he found out, actually, when he got to Ethiopia. He got to find out that, they don't use the Gregorian calendar. That is, we are in 2026 right now. And he got to find out they are in 2018.
2018? 2018.
Now you trolling me.
It's 2026. No.
It ain't 2026?
Wait, hold on. Wait, we in the past? Ronaldo is still in Real Madrid. Everything is in the past here.
Oh man, how shocked Speed was. He went back in time.
Saturday and Sunday mornings belong to the Morning Switch. 3 to 6 a.m. Central African Time. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 12:43 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Today on hashtag Africa Update asks, the Zimbabwean government has denied involvement in the killing of a political activist in South Africa, suggesting that the death of Kudzai Sarawaka was the latest statistics of South Africa's high murder rate. Do you agree with the Zimbabwean government that the death of Sarawaka is because of South Africa's high murder rate? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +2783 288 6684. Hashtag Africa Update Us.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Anti-corruption movement Transparency International has released the 2025 Corruption Perceptions Index, now highlighting worsening corruption and a decline in leadership globally. The CPI measures perceived levels of public sector corruption in 182 countries and territories on a scale of 0 for highly corrupt to 100 for very clean, drawing from 13 independent data sources. Nhlanhla Mahlang has more.
This year's results show that the majority of countries are failing to keep corruption under control. 122 out of 180 score under 50, while the number of countries scoring above 80 has decreased from 12 a decade ago to just 5 this year. Transparency International says this reflects a worrying trend of democracies experiencing rising corruption against a background of tensions between major powers, a dangerous disregard for international norms, the deadly impact of the climate crisis, and increasingly polarized societies. It says these challenges point to the need for strong and principled leaders and institutions with integrity to protect the public interest. Mzwandile Panjantwa, campaign coordinator at Corruption Watch, says South Africa's anti-corruption efforts, as reflected in this year's index, are still found wanting as the country stagnates with a score of 41, the same as in 2024, and still below the global average, despite a general decline globally for the first time in more than a decade to just 42 out of 100. He says the picture in South Africa is equally discouraging, showing little to no progress in the last 3 years.
South Africa, which has not seen any movement, either be it through the various interventions that South Africa has undertaken, be it through the Madlanga Commission that has now been established, that continues to do the amazing work that it does, and has also released a preliminary report. But what we are seeing is that South Africa has not moved in its scoring. It continues to score 41, which is a score that South Africa has maintained over the past 2 years consecutively, and which is a quite problematic thing when you consider the amount of corruption that the reports that Corruption Watch continues to get, and also the corruption that continues to be revealed in the various commissions that are sitting in the country.
According to the index, corruption remains a serious problem in sub-Saharan Africa, the lowest performing region, with an average of 32 out of 100. Only 4 out of 49 countries scored above 50, while 10 of the 49 have significantly worsened since 2012, and only 7 have improved in the same period. The Seychelles at 68 comes out top again as the region's highest scorer, followed by Cabo Verde at 62, Botswana at 58, Rwanda 58, Mauritius 48. The lowest scorer include Sudan at 14, Eritrea 13, Somalia 9, and South Sudan at 9. South Africa ranks 12 on the regional table, having fallen out of the top 10 some years back. But Chadwak says the index has several recommendations.
The first recommendation, which I think is a very important recommendation, is one that speaks about strengthening the criminal justice system. We know that in South Africa, for example, we have already, there is a new head of the NPA in the form of Advocate Andy Mutibi, who has recently taken the ropes. So we are hoping to see changes there, and we are hoping to see speedy resolution of various matters that are there, and to prioritize some of the matters, particularly ones that are stemming from the various commissions, either be the Zonda Commission and also the Madlanga Commission as well, because it will be bringing its own recommendations, which will also, some of those, we're anticipating that some of those recommendations would have to mean that there needs to be prosecution. But also the SIU continues as well to do amazing work. It continues to undertake some of the various investigations and continues to attach various assets as well. But it also continues to forward recommendations to the NPA. So although there is huge amounts of pressure on the NPA, we're hoping that with a new head at the helm, there would be a significant change and a speedy resolution of matters that are there.
Transparency International has called on the continent's leaders to further strengthen accountability institutions and increase transparency, protect civic space, and support public participation, while ensuring that the necessary checks and balances on power are in place. Reporting for Channel Africa, I am Ntlandla Mahlangu in Johannesburg.
Join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684 #Africa Update.
6 decades strong, Channel Africa continues to inspire Africa and the world, proudly sharing
The African perspective.
Conversations are happening, and Channel Africa is at the heart of them. We tell the African story with clarity, pride, and purpose, reaching audiences that matter to your brand. Partner with us and connect your business with listeners across borders in multiple languages and markets. For partnership opportunities, sponsorship, or sales, email us at partnership@channelafrica.co.za. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Well, it is 12:50 Central African time, and today we are joined by Mateko Musito of the Upside team. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. What day is it today? In the
Tuesday.
heat.
Tuesday.
I'm literally like, is it Monday or is it Wednesday?
No, it's Tuesday. It's
Oh my
Tuesday.
goodness.
Yeah, no, we still have a long way to go of the week.
Yes, 10 days in, and here we are. The Upside coming through, and I'll be flying solo today. Debco's not in today.
All right.
But one of the conversations we're going to be looking at is Basic Education Department here in South Africa, and literacy are partnering to mark World Read Aloud Day. All right, and this was actually a day that was acknowledged early in the month, on the 4th of the month. But I think reading aloud should be tradition at any given point. So we're going to talk about that, the importance of read aloud, and also government intervention in making sure that children are reading, but not just reading aloud, but reading to comprehend.
Yeah.
To comprehend, to understand, very important. And you'll be surprised at how many adults still can't do that. So this is a very, very important conversation that we're going to have today.
Very important, definitely. Something to look forward to on the Upside at the top of the hour. Mateko's flying solo today, so she is on her own for 3 hours after Africa Update from 1 o'clock today. Do stay tuned. Well, we continue on Africa Update. A lot more still coming up with just a few minutes that we have left, so continue joining us.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
The Chinese consulate in Johannesburg, South Africa, on Monday evening hosted a Chinese New Year 2026 celebration. Observed worldwide, especially across China and East Asia, the Lunar New Year is one of the most significant dates on the Chinese calendar, also known as the Spring Festival. It marks the transition from winter to spring in the traditional lunar solar calendar. The 15-day celebration symbolizes bidding farewell to the past year, while welcoming renewal, good fortune, prosperity, happiness, and new opportunities. Our Channel Africa's reporter, Michael Mbewe, filed this.
The Lunar New Year, also known as the Chinese New Year or Spring Festival, marks the beginning of the new zodiac cycle based on the Chinese lunar calendar, with its date varying each year on the Gregorian calendar. The zodiac follows a 12-year cycle, each represented by an animal, and 2026 ushers in the year of the horse, the seventh sign in the sequence. Celebrated by millions worldwide, the occasion centers on cultural traditions, family gatherings, and hopes for prosperity in the year ahead. In South Africa, the Chinese consulate hosted celebrations in Sandton, Johannesburg on Monday evening, featuring Chinese cuisine, fashion displays, and cultural performances. Chinese Consul General Pan Qingjiang shared reflections on the significance of the event while speaking to the media.
Today's celebration is really indeed shared jubilation and also shared celebration. It fully demonstrates the strong commitment to sharing the culture and harmony among different civilizations. It fully demonstrates our commitment to cooperate further for the benefits of both peoples.
The event featured a wide array of activities, including cultural performances, diverse Chinese cuisine, and video presentations highlighting the strong ties between China and South Africa, as explained by Consul General Qingjiang.
Today, we have arranged colorful cultural experiencing programs, including the intangible cultural heritage. We've arranged traditional Chinese food like jiaozi, spring rolls. We have arranged a wonderful cultural performance presented from both sides, both Chinese community and the local community. And we have arranged a lot of video presentation covering China and also China-South Africa cooperation.
As the celebration takes place amid rising geopolitical tensions, Consul General King Jiang reaffirmed China's commitment to strengthening cooperation with South Africa, stressing the need for solidarity over confrontation. He noted that both countries aim to advance shared development, support improved global governance, and maintain a partnership built on mutual trust and friendship.
We are facing the world fraught with turbulence and transformation. China and South Africa are committed to working together to achieve common development and contribute more to the improvement of global governance. China will be always a sincere friend and reliable partner of South Africa. The world needs a cooperation instead of confrontation. We need solidarity. So China is always a consistent policy of China to make friends with all the international community countries.
In a message of support, Free State Province's MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture, Ntombizanele Sifuba, said China's 2026 Lunar New Year celebration reinforces cultural identity and heritage, noting that maintaining traditional calendars reflects enduring cultural pride and respect for diverse civilizations.
China's 2026 celebration of its New Year, a cultural phenomenon in itself, should serve as an opportunity for the continued rekindling and solidifying of our cultural relations. Alongside other civilizations, we strive to preserve their cultural heritage. The people of China have asserted their cultural identity for centuries. While cultural imperialism and supremacy has imposed certain practices and ideologies on many nations in the world, practices such as other civilizations' calendars, such as the Gregorian calendar, the Chinese have proudly celebrated their New Year at their own time and according to their own calendar. This is a manifestation and an embodiment of cultural pride. The Ethiopians count themselves amongst those nations who have stuck to following their own calendar.
Sifuba said plans are underway to invite Chinese and African counterparts to the upcoming Basotho New Year celebrations as part of efforts to strengthen cultural ties and African solidarity.
We, on the southern tip of Africa, particularly in the Free State and the nation of Lesotho, we are proud to also be celebrating the Basotho New Year according to the calendar of the ancient Basotho people. This Basotho New Year is celebrated on the 1st of August of each year. This celebration, most certainly, just like the Chinese New Year, has deep historical roots. However, one thing is certain, as part of the strengthening of relations between ourselves and our Chinese compatriots, we'll need to extend the invitation to them during our next Basotho New Year celebration. The same spirit needs to prevail during the celebration of Africa Month and during that of May. In a quest to construct and strengthen African solidarity during the African celebration occasions, we have invited our African brothers and sisters from other parts of the continent who are in the Free State to participate.
Michael Mbewe, Channel Africa News, Johannesburg.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
It is 12:58 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Continue with us on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. On Facebook at Channel Africa, you can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684 #Africa Update. And that's how we wrap Africa Update today. It's been a good one. Let's do this again tomorrow on Wednesday. Continue with us on all our social media platforms and take care. Bye-bye.